BMW Race Days Compact Cup is brought to you in association with Gaz Shocks.
Hello, I'm Scott Woodwiss and welcome to coverage of the BMW Race Days Compact Cup for 2016. The championship started life under its new club, the BRSEC, in fine style at Brands Hatch, with 3 different winners and a tie at the top of the points between Stephen Daly and this man, Richard Miles. Now, if you missed what happened last time out at Brands Hatch, here's race commentator Andy McEwen to give you the lowdown.
Well, Brands Hatch saw the championship kick off in style with 3 extremely exciting races, the first of which saw a dice between Richard Miles and Stephen Daly feature multiple counts of side-by-side racing. It was Miles that took the win with Daly second, whilst race 2 saw Declan McDonald get out in front, while his teammate Joe Wiggin was in all of the action. McDonald took a fairly comfortable win before race 3 saw a resumption of the Miles and Daly scrap, with a few more wing mirrors going missing along the way. Richard Miles unfortunately dropped down to third by the end, but it was Daly who took the race win, meaning the pair of them will share the championship lead arriving at Rockingham. Third place and only 3 points back is Declan McDonald, with Ian Jones and Joe Wiggin rounding out the top 5. It's all still very much to play for though. So, just a few moments away from the start of race number 1 of the day for the BMW Race Days Compact Cup here at Rockingham. Groups A and B set to take the track first. Let's take a look at how they line up on the grid. It's Sam Carrington-Yates on pole position with James Gornall alongside. Row 2 for Simon Walker-Hansel and Ian Jones, and Row 3 Neil Roach and Declan McDonnell. Row 4 for Owen Hunter and Paul Hinson. Row 5 James Nutbrown and Darren Ball, with Chris Hack and Ben Pearson rounding out the top 12. So, ready to go racing then. It is Sam Carrington-Yates on pole position with James Gornall, former British GT champion, alongside. In the lights go out, we are away and racing, and the best start seems to have been made from the second row of the grid by Simon Walker-Hansel, who tries to slip up the middle of the 2 front row men. Couldn't quite do it. He'll get past Gornall, but it will be Carrington-Yates that holds the race lead. They're 4 wide further back though, as Neil Roach goes up the inside of 3 cars, including Declan McDonnell in the black and yellow, and the all-black car on the outside is Paul Hinson. Right then, down into Dean. This is often a trouble spot on the first lap of the race. Let's hope they all get through here in one piece. There's still 3 abreast there, with Neil Roach, as ever, stuck in the middle of it. Declan McDonnell runs Paul Hinson right out to the edge of the track, and they make a little bit of contact, and Owen Hunter gets a bit of paint traded as well on the way down towards Yentwood. It is at Yentwood that we join Neil Roach, who's in 4th position, chasing down the leading trio. Good start from Neil, always in the thick of the action, isn't he? Owen Hunter and Declan McDonnell are side by side into Chapman Curve. We're on the longest of the 3 layouts here at Rockingham this weekend as well, so we go through Piff Path and then bear a right down towards this double apex left-hander at Kirby. Deceptively quick left-hander this. The cars rock around on the suspension before climbing back uphill towards the off-cambered left-hander at Gracelands. So Sam Carrington-Yates then it is who leads the way. It is Simon Walker-Hansel in 2nd place. James Gornall is 3rd, on board with Neil Roach again in 4th. We've got lots of onboards for you to enjoy this weekend here at Rockingham, so we're really getting a great driver's eye view of the action, and we're getting a great view here at the dice for 2nd place as Simon Walker-Hansel is trying to defend from Jiggy. James Gornall, who sees a gap, goes for it at the inside line into the Tarzan hairpin. That's one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit, and James Gornall making full use of it. Has he made the move stick though? No, not quite. Walker-Hansel's fighting back, and in 4th place Neil Roach doesn't really know which way to go here. They're almost 3 abreast down toward the chicane. They can't all fit. They're going to have to sort this out before they turn left. They do, and it's Walker-Hansel who holds on to 2nd place. Gornall and Roach still side by side for 3rd. Still side by side for 3rd as they come back out onto the banking. It's Paul Hinson, the black and yellow car, who's in behind them, who may just be the biggest beneficiary here. Owen Hunter's there in the black and red number 47 car as well. Great racing as ever from the BMW Race Days Compact Cup. This is why it is such a popular championship with oversubscribed grids. Grid size is so large, in fact, that we have to have 3 groups split across 3 races. James Gornall's still got Neil Roach alongside, and Neil has been side by side with someone pretty much since the drop of the green flag. He's now trying to go around the outside of James Gornall into Dean. James snatches a break but holds the inside line and will keep the place. Roach just about gets across in front of Owen Hunter, who's got past Paul Hinson in all of that too. Back on board with Neil then, so after that we're still in 4th place. We're still chasing James Gornall in the white and orange striped machine. Up towards Yentwood they go for the 2nd time. Carry a lot of speed into that corner, but it's a very flat corner, so you really have to use the curb to hook the car around, as you saw Neil Roach doing then. Down through Piff Paff again, avoid the tyre stack on the inside. That is a moment, unfortunately, for the number 13 car of Nick Hawes, who rejoins after an off up at Dean. Back on board with the 81 car of Neil Roach. We're trying to go around the outside of James Gornall now into Tarzan, still can't find a way through, despite these two running side by side so much. Simon Walker-Hansel is not really escaping in second place though, is he? So this is still very much a three-way fight for the second position into the Brook chicane at the end of the School Straight. The gaggle of cars though is soon about to grow. I think we've got 3 at the moment for second. It could soon become 6 or 7 because the next train of cars being led by Owen Hunter and Paul Hintz are almost with them. Onto the pit straight, on board with James Gornall, sat in third place now, tucking into the slipstream, and we said the Tarzan hairpin is a good place to try and overtake around here, but the Dean hairpin perhaps even more so because you sit in the toe all the way through this flat out left-hander at turn 1. We are closing slightly, but not getting a huge slipstream effect by the look of it. Behind though, Owen Hunter is going for a move on the inside of Neil Roach. This is for 4th place into the Dean hairpin. Can he make it stick? Neil's desperately late on the brakes. Just in front of them, James Gornall's got up the inside of Simon Walker-Hansel, and Hunter is now alongside, and in fact almost ahead of Neil Roach. They're making a contact going down towards Yentwood. Neil has to back out of it though to avoid any more significant contact, and so Owen Hunter does go through into 4th place. Just up the road we can see that it is still Simon Walker-Hansel in second ahead of James Gornall in 3rd. Owen Hunter is now into 4th place, but Neil Roach, you sense, is rather eager to get back through here. He's had a good start to the races. Neil doesn't want to start slipping backwards now, and he knows that's very possible because there's a whole queue of cars right behind him. Look, Paul Hinson is there, Declan McDonnell as well, Ian Jones is also in the group. Ian started 4th in the race, but the black and pink number 58 car is just slipping down the order, or has slipped down the order in the early laps. Into Gracelands again, and this means that the fight for second place is just a little bit further ahead of this lot now than it was at the start of the lap. Neil Roach right out over the curbs out of Gracelands. Gornall again goes up the inside of Walker-Hansel for second though. Can he make it stick this time? He gets to the apex first, but it's all about the exit speed from this corner. Yes, he does. He goes through. Right, next battle to focus on is Roach versus Hunter because he's trying to fight back against Owen on the run down towards the Brook chicane. On board with Neil Roach on the outside line there because we're turning left next, and so Owen Hunter should be able to hang on. Neil thinks about hanging tough around the outside but realised that was probably going to end up with a grassy moment, so Owen Hunter stays in front. Now, Richard Miles in the number 24 car started from the back of the grid because he was excluded from qualifying after a technical irregularity. He's already well into the midfield runners though, so Richard Miles, who had a great time of it last time out at Brands Hatch, got himself a race win. He's making good progress. He could get towards the back end of the top 10 before the end of the race. We are now though on to the final lap, and there is your race leader. Sam Carrington-Yates is, in BMW Race Days Compact Cup terms, a country mile clear of the rest of the field. This is a very healthy margin he's built up over the last few laps. Second place man is James Gornall. He's now seen off the challenge from Simon Walker-Hansel, who's dropped back a little way in 3rd place. This is a battle further back though between Declan McDonnell and Paul Hinson, which is still raging as it has been for most of the race really. They've got James Nutbrown in the white and green number 88 car closing in, but Paul Hinson has lost some places, and this is why, under extreme pressure from Neil Roach, who he'd got past recently, Paul then unfortunately ran wide down at Kirby and lost a couple of places. So Sam Carrington-Yates then turns his way into the Brook chicane. James Gornall has been catching him over the last few laps, but not to any avail, I don't think, because it looks as though for the first time this year we're going to see Sam Carrington-Yates on the top step of the podium. He sees the checkered flag and he wins race number 1 of the BMW Race Days Compact Cup here at Rockingham. Second place goes the way of James Gornall. 3rd position should be Simon Walker-Hansel. Yes, it is. Only just there because Owen Hunter was trying to find a way past him on the run to the line, and this is Richard Miles. Richard Miles is indeed inside the top 10. He's going for 9th, and on the line he pips Ian Jones for 9th position by 34 1/1000ths of a second. So it's Carrington-Yates with the win, Gornall 2nd, Walker-Hansel 3rd and Owen Hunter 4th, Neil Roach is 5th, Declan McDonnell 6th, then Paul Hinson, James Nutbrown, Richard Miles and Ian Jones round out the top 10, then it's Giles Dawson, Ben Pearson, Darren Ball, Jack Drury and Clive Brookson who rounds out the top 15, and then non-finishes we lost unfortunately Adrian Watt, Daniel Devereaux and Aaron Morgan earlier on.
It was difficult towards the end, but actually on the warm-up lap I tried to have a practice start because at Brands I had 2 terrible starts. So I messed up the practice start on the warm-up lap and I thought, oh no, not again. But I managed to have an alright start, not too bad. I was level with Jiggy, but I managed to get away once I pulled into second. I managed to just pull the gap. They were fighting between them, so luckily that gave me the chance to get a bit of a gap, and I chilled out towards the end. I was making a few mistakes, so I had to back off a little bit.
Well, after a thoroughly enjoyable first race of the day, there's still plenty more action to come. What lies in store in races 2 and 3? Find out after the break.
Welcome back to Rockingham for action for the BMW Race Days Compact Cup. Now below me in the holding area are the cars for race 2. This is groups C and B. So enough from me, let's hand you back over to Andy McEwen to take you through the grid for race number 2.
Thanks, Scott. Well, the grid's coming up in a moment, but first of all, we caught up with Paul Hinson, whose season didn't get off to the best of starts at Brands Hatch.
I managed to lunge my gearbox going over the start-finish line for my first flying lap in qualifying, so I had to start from the back of the grid. So we changed the gearbox actually on the day, so fantastic work by Martin at Rutec International Racing. And yeah, we're here to give it a go. Didn't have great qualifying, down in P13, but yeah, we'll see what the races bring. So before Compact, I raced in the MR2 Championship with a 750 Motor Club and had 3 years there, and fortunately won it back in 2012 and wanted to do something really competitive and came into the Compact Cups. The big difference is the standard of drivers here. You know, you've got lots of ex-champions on the grid, and you could win or you could come sort of 12th, 13th. It's that competitive, and that's what really has brought me to the championship and brings a lot of us to the championship.
Let's take a look at the grid for race number 2 here at Rockingham. Then it's Joe Wiggin alongside race 1 winner Sam Carrington-Yates on the front row, Jim Benson and Simon Walker-Hansel row 2 with Stephen Daly and Neil Roach on the third row. Row 4 for John Watt and Owen Hunter, row 5 Matt Smith and James Nutbrown, and row 6 Craig Jameson and Chris Hack. Red lights go on then. When they go out, we'll be away and racing again, which happens now, and it's a poor start from pole position by Joe Wiggins. Stephen Daly right behind him. There makes a storming start in the white and orange car. He's making great progress from 5th already, but it's Carrington-Yates that leads the way. Jim Benson is there in 2nd position in the blue, orange and silver car. Side by side for 3rd then between Stephen Daly and Simon Walker-Hansel as they fan out down towards the Dean hairpin. To the outside for the race lead goes Jim Benson, side by side for 1st and 3rd and 5th, and pretty much every position throughout the field. In fact, Benson's trying to go right the way around the outside of Carrington-Yates through Dean. Does it work? Maybe. He might just have the inside line for Chapman Curve. There's Neil Roach. He gets into a bit of contact there with John Watt. I noticed Neil was sideways through Dean as well. I think they've made a couple of bits of contact on this first half a lap or so. But out in front, who is the race leader? It's Benson who is in the lead. And it looked as though Stephen Daly was trying to get up the inside of him into Chapman Curve. He's got himself alongside, so they make their way down towards the pith path, but Benson hangs on. Daly 2nd, Walker-Hansel is 3rd. Side by side then for 4th place as Joe Wiggin tries to recover from his slow start. Got up the inside of Sam Carrington-Yates, who was leading a few corners ago. Now he's down to 5th. In fact, mate, that's 6th place. He loses another place there too. I think that was Owen Hunter, wasn't it, in the 47 car? And now Neil Roach gets up the inside of him too. A disastrous start for Sam Carrington-Yates. Goes from 2nd on the grid all the way down to 7th place by the time they reach Gracelands. Neil Roach does make the move to stick and now sets off after the leading group in front of him. Stephen Drury, unfortunately, has a drama, some sort of mechanical issue for the man who started 17th in this race. Meanwhile, back towards the front, and Neil Roach has got Carrington-Yates to his outside. He's got John Watt trying to get through on the inside as well, and Carrington-Yates losing more ground, look, because John Watt's gone through, and James Nutbrown now tries to get up the inside of him as well. Well, from hero to zero for Sam Carrington-Yates, things not going brilliantly well in his 2nd race. The top 5 getting away. It's Benson that leads the way. Daly 2nd, Walker-Hansel 3rd, Wiggin 4th and Hunter 5th. Then 6th place is Neil Roach, 7th John Watt, 8th Carrington-Yates, 9th James Nutbrown, and rounding out the top 10 is Matt Smith, who you can see there in a good little dice with Craig Jameson in the number 8 machine. Down towards the Dean hairpin they go. On board with James Nutbrown, who can see up in front of him Sam Carrington-Yates goes up the inside of John Watt, but outbrakes himself and gets straight into the side of Neil Roach, and Hill, complete victim there, just gets turned around and is pointing the wrong way, facing oncoming traffic. Still on board though with the 88 car of Nutbrown, because to our inside I think is a recovering Carrington-Yates, yes, and Sam Carrington-Yates, who's had a scrappy start to the race to say the least, now has a scrappy look to his car as well, with damage done to the front end. Nutbrown loses another place as well. Oh, and Craig Jameson, who we just saw dicing with Matt Smith, has now clattered into the side of Neil Roach, I think. I said Neil was facing oncoming traffic. Unfortunately, I think someone collected him. Both cars damaged and presumably out of the race. This is the fight, though, further towards the front of the field. Joe Wiggin has now got past Stephen Daly somewhere whilst all that was going on. And Stephen is now coming under pressure from the Owen Hunter-driven number 47 car. Owen Hunter started down in 8th place in this race, so has made some good progress through the order in the early stages. Stephen Daly there with a bit of trim hanging off, but it is Jim Benson that leads the way. He's getting away now, look, from this 4-way fight for 2nd between Wiggin, Daly, Hunter and John Watt. It's all just started to settle down slightly now after the early incidents that we had. Lots of great racing as well, though, for us to enjoy. We always get great racing in the BMW Race Days Compact Cup, and the Rockingham circuit is a place that offers many overtaking opportunities, but it's a very unique challenge to this place as well, and something that drivers struggle with sometimes. Stephen Daly certainly is one who, having spent most of his career racing up at Knockhill in Scotland, is struggling, I think, to get to grips with the wide open spaces of Rockingham. We're on board with Stephen, who got himself a race win last time out at Brands Hatch. Making his way through Chapman Curve up towards the Piff Path. We're trying here to close in on Joe Wiggin. Further back, 3 abreast action down into Dean. That's the number 12 car making a move up the inside of Harry Ross and gains 1 place nearly at the expense of number 35 Gordon McMillan, but Gordon snatched it back on the exit. So race leader Jim Benson then untroubled really throughout the second half of the race. He's making his way through the chicane for the final time, and Jim makes his way out onto the banking up against the concrete wall, sees the checkered flag and takes his first race win of the season. That's 5 different race winners from the first 5 races. For second place it was close, but it was still Joe Wiggin that hangs on. Stephen Daly is third, Owen Hunter fourth and John Watt fifth, Simon Walker-Hansel sixth, Sam Carrington-Yates seventh, then James Nutbrown, Matt Smith and Chris Hack round out the top 10. 11th for David Whitmore, then Jack Drury, Mark Skeets, David May and Harry Ross round out the top 15 runners. The retirements from that one were Neil Roach, Craig Jameson, Giles Dawson and Stephen Drury, unfortunately, but 23 cars still make it to the finish.
It was great to get a great start. There's a little bit of tussling to start with, but I managed to pull a gap. I think behind me I could see in my mirrors we were seeing a few people fighting, enabling me to build a bit of a gap. I'm just glad I was able to maintain that. It's my first victory, so I'm going to savour this one for sure. I mean, many thanks to the sponsors. Rutec put a great car under me, and of course this year we're taking on a new sponsor, EAG, so it's great to put the car on the top step for them.
Cars gridding up then for race number 3 of the day here at Rockingham for groups C and A. But before we see what happens in this race, let's hear from Aaron Morgan, who we caught up with a bit earlier on.
Due to the clutch mechanism that I use, it means that my starts aren't very good, and at race 1 at Brands Hatch I got a bit left behind. I managed to get a lot better start in race 2, and I think I was running sort of in the mid-teens, but unfortunately I made a mistake at Graham Hill, which meant that I ran wide and lost a couple of places. I came here a few weeks ago, we tested here and things actually went really well, and I was really looking forward to this weekend and hopefully being really up there in the pack. I mean, unfortunately after qualifying I was having some problems with the clutch in my car, which meant that I wasn't able to compete in the first race today, as Robin and Tom at Raw Motorsport managed to completely change the car to a whole new clutch in, I think it was about half an hour, so 10 out of 10, I can't thank them enough. So I'm in the second race of the last race this afternoon. Hopefully we'll be able to do something. I believe I'm about 12th or 13th on the grid, so hopefully I'll be able to potentially get into the top 10. I'd love that.
So let's see the grid for race number 3 then. It is pole position for James Gornall with Joe Wiggin alongside. Ian Jones and Jim Benson row 2, Declan McDonnell and Stephen Daly row 3. Row 4 for Paul Hinson and John Watt. Row 5 Darren Ball and Matt Smith. Ben Pearson and Craig Jameson make up the 6th row of the grid. So for the final time today then, we're away and racing at Rockingham. Great start further back, look, from Aaron Morgan, who said he doesn't make many good starts. He made a good one that time, but it's James Gornall, Jiggy, who gets the best start of the lot, holds the lead down into turn 1. It's Joe Wiggin in second, and Declan McDonnell, his teammate though, is trying to come to the inside of him as they make their way through the banking. Can't quite do it, and in fact Joe Wiggin now is closing in on the race leader James Gornall to maybe have a go onto the brakes into Dean Hairpin. Further back they spread out 3 and 4 abreast. There is Stephen Daly, he's got ground to make up after a poor qualifying, and behind him the orange, blue and silver car is Jim Benson, our race 2 winner, who's made a terrible start and dropped down the order. Leaders are up towards Yentwood. We're on board with Ben Pearson, who sees Stephen Daly come shooting up the inside of him, and Jim Benson, so 2 places lost into Yentwood on the first lap for Ben Pearson, unfortunately. Leaders though up towards the right-handed Chapman. Stephen Daly now goes up the inside of the number 4 car of Matt Smith. Now the race leader is James Gornall. It's Joe Wiggin still second, but where is Declan McDonnell? Declan McDonnell is no longer there in 3rd place, is he? So he's had a moment somewhere, and Declan McDonnell, yes, I can't see him anywhere in the pack, presumably is sat at the side of the road somewhere. We'll wait and see if we can pick him out as the leaders make their way up towards Gracelands. There is Declan McDonnell, and yes, the car is pulled over. I believe he's had a drama up at Dean. He's certainly inspecting the car for damage. On board with Paul Hinson, this might shed some light on it. There's McDonnell at the inside. Oh, they touch and they sort of lock wheels and both head off towards the barriers. Declan McDonnell makes the barriers, but thankfully the same is not true of Paul Hinson. So here is the battle then between number 58, which is the car of Ian Jones. Got Stephen Daly there, still side by side with Matt Smith, and tries to ease Matt out over the curbs and the grass, which he does. That was a bit robust, but Matt Smith will lose a few more places as well. On board with John Watt, he goes through on the run into Yentwood, but Matt fights straight back again and eases his way back through. Bit of smoke pouring off the back of that car now into the right-hander at Chapman Curve, and Jim Benson there starts his fight back too. Gets up the inside and picks another place off in towards Piff Paff, down towards Kirby. So Jim Benson leaving himself with a lot of work to do, but Stephen Daly is really showing some rather aggressive driving here as he tries to move his way through towards the front. Down towards Dean Hairpin then, and this is the battle for third position. The man trying to make the move is John Watt in number 34 car. He's trying to find a way past Ben Pearson, who started 11th, may I remind you. Got himself into third through all of the carnage on the first lap, and he's now trying to defend this podium position from John Watt in towards the right-hander at Yentwood. Doesn't do a great job of it though, because he outbrakes himself. Pearson misses the apex by a country mile, and John now has the inside line into Chapman Curve, where he does exactly the same thing. So Pearson says, thank you very much, I'll take that place straight back. Fantastic onboard footage from these two cars as they hop their way over the curbs through Piff Paff. Right, so John Watt briefly was into third place, he then lost it again, but now there's another mistake from Ben Pearson down at Kirby. He again misses both apexes, and so Watt gets back alongside up towards the left-hander at the top of the hill. That's Gracelands, and can John Watt maybe now find a way through into the podium position and make it stick? He gets to the apex, this time he makes the apex, and yes, makes the position stick. So up into third place goes number 34 John Watt. Now, this is a replay of how Ben Pearson got past Ian Jones a few laps ago. Ian ran him right the way down to the white line as they came across the start-finish line, and that is how Ben Pearson did manage to squeeze his way through and work his way further up the order. Now, final lap of the race, and here is the battle for second place between Stephen Daly and Darren Ball as they make their way out through Kirby and up towards the left-hander at Gracelands. James Gornall, though, is coming through to complete his final lap of the race, and as he comes out onto the banking for the final time, he's about to become the 6th different race winner from 6 races this season. James Gornall then takes his first win of the season, flashes the headlights in celebration. Second place goes the way of Joe Wiggin. Stephen Daly it is who will come across the line in third place. John Watt is 4th, 5th place Ben Pearson, 6th Darren Ball in the end, drop back towards the end, then 7th place for Ian Jones, 8th Matt Smith, 9th David Whitmore and 10th Richard Miles, then Aaron Morgan, Jim Benson, Clive Brooks and Steve Drury and Mark Armstrong round out the top 15. And further back, unfortunately, we did lose Declan McDonnell, and Ari Ross was excluded from the result.
Yeah, the first half of that race I had Joe right with me. I think I knew where my advantage was in the middle, and I had to do it every lap. I couldn't make a mistake because with this, with the other engine that we put in, it's not race prepped. It's still quite quick, clearly, because it just won the race. But I was lacking a bit, and he was coming at me down the second straight towards the first hairpin every lap. But eventually, I got enough of a gap, so I didn't have to worry too much.
So this is how the championship standings look leaving Rockingham. Stephen Daly has a 2-point lead over an improving James Gornall. Joe Wiggin is third, the top 3 covered by just 4 points. Richard Miles fourth. Sam Carrington-Yates rounds out the top 5.
So another round of the BMW Compact Cup comes to a close with 3 different winners from all 3 races. Now the question is, who will carry the momentum onto the next few rounds? Speaking of which, they go to Snetterton in Norfolk for rounds 5 and 6. But until then, if you want to find out more about the Compact Cup, you can head to the website bmwracedays.co.uk, as well as following them on Facebook and on Twitter. You can also do the same for the BRSCC by heading to brscc.co.uk and following them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and subscribing to their YouTube channel. For all of us here at Rockingham, I'm Scott Woodwis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at Snetterton.